Hey everybody. In this video I want to talk about the Daytona 500 and again about the upcoming presidential election and a few more clues that I feel like we should consider or maybe look at a little bit more because at least they stand out to me, but we'll see what you guys think. But to begin with, we'll talk about how Daytona 500, when written out in words, is a nice overlap with Elizabeth Ann Warren, 3 out of the 4 ciphers, 196, 88, 290. And I'm not too positive what to make of the whole Daytona 500 race, but this is just some things I've gathered. And if you were on Facebook, and you may have saw that I kind of talked a little bit about Ryan Newman and his little connection with the candidate Pete. And knowing that Rocket Man, it makes me think of Elton John, because Rocket Man is Ryan Newman's nickname, right? And it makes me think of Elton John because we know Elton John is a gay man, and then here we have I think it's our first homosexual candidate for president, Pete Buttigieg, and just to see him and his connection with Ryan Newman, because Ryan Newman is from South Bend, Indiana, and that's where Pete was the former mayor of South Bend, and that's where he's from as well. So just to see that, and we'll talk about it a little bit, but looking at Ryan Newman's birthday, December 8th, when you run that date to what was the Daytona 500 and President's Day, it was 71 days, and that 71 stands out just because, like we've been talking about with Elizabeth Warren, that's how many days, or that's how old she will be by the time of the election, because her 71st birthday is going to be this June 22nd. And notice the 10 weeks 1 day looks like 101, and Elizabeth Ann Warren equals 101. And then also whenever you run Coke, the company that he races for, it equals 71, and final lap equals 71. And recall that Ryan Newman was in first place in the final lap, and then that's when his car accident happened, where he had a crazy wreck, which it looked pretty bad, But another thing too is, like, I don't know. It's hard to say it wasn't contrived as well because of these numbers I'm about to show you. So notice the 37 in Coke, car wreck equals 37, Rocket Man equals 37, hospital equals 37, he was hospitalized after the race, Daytona equals 37. So just seeing all those and how they align, car wreck equals 53 like Rocket Man has that 100 like hospital, and yeah, just to see all that and how it connects, it makes you think that it was probably supposed to happen, And I don't know if anyone even saw any pictures of him after his injury. Like, I didn't. I just heard that he was released from the hospital, but I don't know. So in regards of it having in President's Day equals 159 and 60, just like Donald Trump equals 159 and 60, Ryan J. Newman equals 159 and 60. So just to see that, like how perfect that was, and then just to point out the 192, because Elizabeth Warren being born on June 22nd, the day that leaves 192 days left in the year. So that, I don't know, I can help but notice that. President's Day has that 75. When you write out Ryan Joseph Newman, you get 75. So just all that, and I don't know, I just found it interesting how it included Pete Buttigieg as well. But I don't know what to make of it, to be honest. And talking about the guy who actually won the Daytona 500, his actual name is Denny Hamlin, or his name that he goes by, because that's his middle name, Denny. But his first name is actually James, so James Hamlin equals 192, again, just like President's Day 192. And noticing how many laps he was in the lead for was 79 laps. Warren equals 79. And whenever you look at his birthday, it's November 18th, which is the 322nd day of the year. And we know that Skull and Bones identifies by 322. and a lot of, just a lot of rituals go down on that day. Like, so like this past November 18th, 2019, that was in the NFL, Chiefs and Chargers. Monday Night Football, they played in Mexico, and the whole time duration of that game was 3 hours and 22 minutes. I mean, just stupid coincidences like that nobody even thinks twice about, because nobody knows what day it is, right? Other than the date, nobody looks at what day of the year it is or how many days are left in the year. Like, no average person does that, I don't think. But anyways, to say that Skull and Bones equals 202 and 76 and Woman President equals 202 and 202 and 76, I mean, that just goes hand in hand too. And also, when you run Denny with the word Queen, perfect overlap in all four ciphers, 62, 26, 73, and 19. And if you've watched one of my previous videos that I did about Elizabeth Warren, I talked a lot about Queen Elizabeth and Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, and how Pocahontas met the Queen of England back in the day. Just a lot of connections there, but I am going to bring it up just a little bit right now. Just going back to my old blog, we know that Queen equals 62 and 26, and how perfect that goes with Queen Elizabeth and her coronation day on June 2nd, 6-2, and her reign beginning February 6, 2-6. I mean, just to see that, it just makes it seem like all a joke when you know Gematria. But anyways, when you run her birthday, Queen Elizabeth's birthday, to Elizabeth Warren's birthday, it was 62 days. They're 62 days apart. Lady President equals 62. Women's rights equals 62. And again, this coming August 18th, is when it's going to mark 100 years since women gained their rights. And so that's another reason too, I'm kind of feeling Elizabeth Warren. Maybe she has a better shot, just because, like, why wouldn't we be celebrating 100 years for women? And that would just be one big coincidence that would just be right under people's noses and they just won't get, And we talked about a lot in this video, which I won't go over all of it, but just to point that out again, because I do want to discuss, again, Beyonce. And the reason I'm bringing her up is because she has the nickname Queen Bey, or Queen Bee, and so another queen that we kind of call Beyonce, Another thing I noticed is her birthday is September 4th, like 9/4, and the Queen Elizabeth is about to turn 94 in April this year. So just to see that connection, and notice that she's even 38 years old right now, that big murder death number. So I mean we'll see what happens, but just to see that connection that she has with Queen Elizabeth stands out. And then whenever you run Beyonce Knowles, you get 62, and Beyonce equals 26, just like Queen equals 62 and 26. And I know we have these accented E's in here, which I need to for sure ask if that's legit to use in Gematria, but I tried looking on Zach's blog or anywhere that he talked about that. And in the blog, he kind of seemed like he wasn't for sure, like he didn't really know the answer to that, yet he still runs the numbers on it both ways, with the accent and without the accent. But I don't want to twist his words or anything, but so just to see that even fits, I don't know why. They have to be putting it, with that accent for a reason too, I would think, just for more numbers for that individual to be going by. But anyways, when you run Queen Bey, she equals 94, just like her birthday, September 4th. And again, that's how old Queen Elizabeth is going to be turning this year. And when you run Beyonce Giselle Knowles and Elizabeth Ann Warren, you get 88 and 101, a little match there. And another reason too that I'm bringing up Beyonce is because I recalled her song Run the World Girls, and definitely with the whole Elizabeth Warren could be the first woman president, women's rights, 100 years coming up, and Queen of England, Queen, who runs, she's the queen, who runs, she rules. So just to see that she had this song. And here's some of the lyrics. A lot of the song is just like, who run the world? Girls. Or who run this mother? Girls. So like when you run those, you get 88 and 113. Again, 88 like Elizabeth Ann Warren. And 113 like election day equals 113. And so coincidentally this year, election day is going to fall on November 3rd, 113. So that, just seeing how that fit in, even with me just having that thought of like, let's go to it and look at it and how it just fits. But another thing that just kind of blew me away was because when you look at the album, like of that song, Run the World Girls, that was released on April 21st, and April 21st is Queen Elizabeth's birthday. So I mean, just to see that, even more ties with the Queen. And if you notice, it was released in 2011, which this April will mark 9 years since the album released. And look at the overlap with 9 years and president. I mean, maybe that's just that, but just to see that that's a 4 out of the 4 cipher match, that's pretty wild. And then Run the World and Freemasonry even has a 4 base cipher match too. The 158, 139, 59, and 58. And I mean, that basically is just telling you right there who runs the world. Freemasonry, of course. This is what we know. This is what Gematria every day is revealing. So that wasn't really big. That wasn't much of a surprise, but just to see that, you had to laugh at it. And then when you actually run April 21st, the Queen's birthday, to Beyonce's birthday, it's a span of 137 days. 137 like government, White House, authority. 137 is the 33rd prime number. And we know a lot of 33s. And whenever you run Beyonce without the accent there, you get 33. And of course, Masonry. And we know like secrecy, order, I think even order, 33. And then it makes me think too of how Elizabeth Warren is the, the senator of Massachusetts. Massachusetts is another 33 right here. So I mean, there's 33s like all over the place, especially within Freemasonry, but just to point out that's relevant with these people. And then moving to, well, actually, before I get onto this one, I do want to point out that President's Day, or the day of Daytona, so when you run that day to the upcoming election day on November 3rd, when you run the span of it, it's actually, it's 261 days, but I actually wanted to point out the 8 months, 18 days, because in here, I have it on my blog, let's see, where did I mention it? That women's rights, it's going to be on August 18th, like 8/18, whenever it's going to mark 100 years since women gained their rights. So just to see that from President's Day to Election Day is 8 months, 18 days, I mean, that, I don't know if that's trying to tell us something, but just something I wanted to point out. And then today is February 22nd. I'm doing this video kind of late, but I did notice that Elizabeth is in Seattle, Washington campaigning, and just I had to look into it because knowing that she's in Washington and George Washington's birthday is today on February 22nd, and she's there campaigning, that kind of fit. And then he died on December 14th, and whenever you ran the day that he died to his upcoming birthday, it was 71 days. Again, like Elizabeth Warren is going to be the only candidate to be 71 years old. And there's that 10 weeks, 1 day again, like 101, like Elizabeth Ann Warren. And if you were to go back, because I had to go back and look at Zach's blog actually, it was June 26, 2019, whenever it was the first Democratic debate. And it was exactly 71 weeks to election day. So that's another 71 that stood out. And I know Zach had more details on that, but just to point out all these 71s, I just add up together, and it had date numerology of 71 as well. When you take 6 plus 26 plus 20 plus 19, you get 71. 71, prime number being 20. Here we are in 2020. And of course, to bring up George Washington again and how he's the first president, Elizabeth Ann Warren and first president have a 2 out of the 4 cipher match, 196 and 88. So just to point out some of those. And one other thing I noticed too, I should have had it pulled up, I didn't even look at it, but she's actually campaigning at the Seattle Center, what was it, Armor or something? Yeah, is that this location? Let me see if it, yeah, it's right here. If you look at the address, and again, this could be nothing, but just to notice that 305 and all the connections that we saw with 305 in the Super Bowl this year, because 305, if you recall, Miami's area code, one of them is 305, and I mean, we just talked a lot about it this year, even like Indigenous Peoples Day, and again, that because the Kansas City Chiefs won, Indigenous team, they won the Super Bowl, and I felt like having Trump calling Warren Pocahontas was kind of a play to everything, and I feel like even though she's probably not even Native American at all, like just the whole riddles with having the whole issue of her being considered Native American and such, kind of, I think there's something there with it. So the 305 stood out, and especially how it was 112 days from Indigenous Day to the Super Bowl, and Super Bowl equals 112. So that was another big clue that I thought, yeah, it's definitely going to be a Native team and definitely going to be the Chiefs. So yeah, I just wanted to point out that the address she's at is kind of like a Super Bowl number again. And so yeah, I think that was pretty much all I gathered on everything that I found with it, and especially just leading, like, how fitting for all this, like that song to be on or released on the Queen's birthday, and just more things dealing with the Queen. That's what I got from Daytona 500. I don't know what you guys think. You guys can definitely drop your comments below, and I'm open to whatever. So thanks for watching.